conference Veteran Trees, Reflections and Future Directions brings experts from across Europe to Stockholm to explore one essential question together: how we can better understand veteran and ancient trees, and how we can care for them in a rapidly changing environment. Over the course of 2 days, it connects science, practical arboriculture, and biodiversity conservation. From tree architecture and wood decay to fungi, beetles, and bats, as well as modern diagnostic methods and technologies for tree assessment. The conference itself took place on April 16th and 17th, 2026, in Stockholm at the Swedish Museum of Natural History and the Bergius Botanic Garden. The event is organized by the Swedish Tree Association, a professional network focused on sharing knowledge, raising standards, and connecting arborists, researchers, and urban tree managers. The opening presentation of the conference was Artemis Ernest's talk, Evolution and Tree Architecture. Artemis, an associate professor at the University of Montpellier in France, brought an unusually broad perspective to the topic of veteran tree care, linking historical botany, plant architecture, and macroevolutionary context. In her presentation, she raised a fundamental question: can veteran trees adapt to ongoing and future global change? She showed that throughout their long evolutionary history, trees have faced a wide range of powerful ecological pressures, from the expansion of herbivorous mammals to major climatic fluctuations, fires, and other forms of disturbance. It was precisely their responses to these pressures that shaped their architecture, resilience, and ability to survive in changing environments. The central message of her talk was that understanding these ancient processes is not merely a theoretical exercise, but can also serve as highly practical guidance for modern arboriculture. Artemis demonstrated which mechanisms help trees regenerate after browsing or disturbance, which evolutionary steps enable them to endure harsh conditions, and how these insights can inform present-day management, for example in pruning, deadwood retention, or the support of natural habitats and ecological niches. Her presentation was a reminder that the future of all tree care may well depend on a deeper understanding of their very distant past. Tom Joy of the Belgian organization Inverdi focused on tree architecture and pointed out that when we look at an old tree, we are actually seeing two overlapping images. The first represents the predictable growth pattern of a young individual, while the second is formed by the tree's unpredictable, so-called freestyle response to the stresses and challenges it has experienced in its environment. He emphasized that our diagnostics and assessments are often influenced by personal bias and by a high degree of error or noise. Many trees, after losing their original crown, reorganize themselves by developing entirely new structures from dormant buds. His main message to tree managers was clear: do not rush and do not jump to conclusions. If a tree shows signs of trying to reorganize itself, the best course of action is to give it enough time and avoid felling it. Reg Harris shared his experience with so-called retrenchment pruning, a gradual crown reduction technique that he had been working with since 2000 in Hatfield Forest in the United Kingdom. The aim of this approach was to imitate the natural breakdown of the crown and prevent the failure of heavy limbs. Over time, however, it became clear that the method was not working as intended. Instead of producing a lower secondary crown, the trees redirected their energy into steep upward growth, creating so-called lion tails at the ends of the shortened branches. These long shoots paradoxically increased wind loading on the limbs, accelerated the advance of decay fungi into the pruned branches, and in some cases led to catastrophic failure. Because of drought, climate change, and emerging diseases such as acute oak decline associated with bacteria and drought stress, trees are no longer able to respond to this kind of pruning as they once did. As a result, REC now prefers to intervene as little as possible, to reduce only specific limbs when necessary, and to preserve as much leaf area as possible to support the tree's physiological functioning. Emma Gilmartin from the Arboricultural Association in the United Kingdom presented a shift in the understanding of wood decay, showing that it cannot be seen simply as the work of isolated fungi, but rather as a complex process that takes place across several kingdoms of life. Research suggests that fungi are often overestimated, while bacteria, far from being boring, play an enormous role both in wood decomposition and in the vitality of the tree itself. Inside trees, there is therefore a constant process of competition, cooperation, and conflict unfolding within an extraordinarily complex internal microbiome. Jim Mulholland, speaking as a bat specialist, emphasized that the vast majority of European bat species live in trees. He called for a shift in perspective. What arborists often perceive as a defect, cracks, loose bark, decay, actually provides essential shelter for bats. Bats lead highly dynamic lives and, depending on weather conditions, may use as many as 40 to 50 different trees, clustering in colonies and then dispersing again. He also stressed that maternity colonies deliberately seek out open-grown, heavily sun-exposed trees with hot cavities during summer, while in autumn bats gather in large numbers around old trees for swarming, a behavior linked to mating and the search for winter roosts. Vicky Bengtsson of the Swedish organization Pro Natura presented the achievements of an international 13-year project of artificial veteranization of younger oaks, designed to bridge the generational gap and compensate for the loss of old trees in the landscape. The method involves deliberately damaging bark, creating artificial cavities, and imitating lightning wounds, with the key principle being that the tree must survive the intervention. The results of this approach are remarkable. Just 2 years after the creation of artificial cavities, the trees had already been colonized by large numbers of insects, creating new and previously missing habitat for rare beetles, mammals, and birds. Jaroslav Kolařík of Safe Trees, Czech Republic, showed that modern technologies can significantly improve the mapping and management of veteran trees, and he introduced a new database and application developed within the VetExt project. Conventional measurement of trunk dimensions in old, irregular, and hollow trees often loses much of its meaning. Instead, the optimal approach appears to be the use of LiDAR sensors, now available in better smartphones, to create detailed 3D models of tree trunks directly in the field. Based on these models, it is possible to carry out far more accurate biomechanical calculations and assessments of wind load resistance using the 8BN system. These models can also clearly demonstrate to tree owners that even an old and partially hollow tree may still retain enormous load-bearing capacity and, in most cases, does not present a risk of structural failure. Valentino Cristini of Mendel University, Czech Republic, followed with a warning against the improper use of modern diagnostic tools, such as acoustic tomography, on old trees. He pointed out that these instruments measure only changes in the propagation of sound waves, while the final image depends heavily on the software's reconstruction algorithm and on the natural heterogeneity of the wood itself. If misunderstood, the results produced by such devices can appear overly pessimistic and may lead to unnecessary damage or premature felling. He called on arborists to seek balance and not rely solely on colorful computer-generated outputs. Karin Sandberg, a Swedish ecologist, provided a broader perspective on the extraordinary number of rare and threatened insects and other organisms for which old trees are absolutely indispensable habitat. She referred to the activities carried out under the National Inventory Plan and expressed hope that the new European Nature Restoration Law will help protect these most important old trees more effectively before they are permanently lost. The conference program was brought to a close by Ted Green, a widely respected pioneer in the field, who described the tree as a unique and dynamic, self-contained ecosystem. He pointed out that we still focus almost exclusively on the above-ground part of the tree, while half of the tree is below ground, meaning that we continue to overlook the root system and the soil mycorrhizal fungi. As evidence, he referred to an experiment with pigs, which began rooting exclusively in the untreated, healthy, mycorrhiza-rich parts of the soil beneath a centuries-old oak. He also defended hollow trunks as a completely healthy and natural condition, one that gives trees the mechanical flexibility needed to survive for centuries. He strongly recommended protecting collapsing trees with supportive props rather than resorting to radical pruning or felling. This brings the main lecture block slowly to its conclusion. Special thanks also go to the excellent moderator Chris Snapman, who guided us through today's packed program with professionalism, calmness, and natural ease. Equally important recognition belongs to the conference organizers from the Swedish Tree Association, who made the entire event possible. Particular thanks go to Peter Ljungqvist, Markus Pettersson, and above all Daniel Duckfeldt, who have done an enormous amount of work not only in preparing this exceptional event, but also in building connections within the professional community and supporting the care of old and veteran trees in Sweden over the long term. Now it is time to let today's inspiration settle in, and tomorrow morning we look forward to seeing you again, this time among the trees.